Okay, let's just dive right into this. Today, we're exploring the highly secretive, kind of fascinating life of Pavel Durov. He's the billionaire founder of Telegram and a man who recently made global headlines after a completely unprecedented, dramatic arrest in France. We are going to unpack the mindset, the history, and the incredibly unique technology that brought him to this exact moment in time. Now, what's really interesting about this quote is that it isn't just some catchy PR slogan for him. It's literally the core operating principle that drives every single decision he makes, personally and professionally. As we go through this explainer, you're going to see how he repeatedly just walks away from vast fortunes, all to maintain his absolute independence. To really wrap your head around that level of independence, just think about this number. Durov owns exactly 100% of Telegram. He has famously and repeatedly refused billions of dollars in venture capital and acquisition offers simply to keep total control. Think about that for a second. In a tech landscape dominated by public boards and massive shareholder pressure, Durov unilaterally controls a platform actively used by over 1 billion people. Section 1. The Radical Stoic Mindset. Engineering a Clear Mind. To understand the macro business decisions Durov makes on a global scale, we first have to look at the micro details of his extreme, highly disciplined daily life. So the crucial takeaway here is how he views everyday things: alcohol, junk food, or even a regular headache pill. To him, those are basically spiritual painkillers. In his view, they just mask underlying problems and fears. So instead of numbing himself, he actively chooses to embrace discomfort to build absolute self-discipline, focusing entirely on long-term physical and mental power. I mean, 300 push-ups every single morning, 300 squats, swimming for hours straight in freezing lakes. It's intense, right? But it isn't just about physical health for him. It's a calculated method of continuously training the mind to overcome fear, to bypass societal pressures, and to literally engineer a brain that doesn't panic when it's faced with immense external stress. Section 2. Losing the Russian Facebook. The Rise and Fall of VKontakte. Let's look at his first empire and see exactly how this very same stoic rebellion led to his ultimate exile from Russia. You can really see the rapid escalation here. In just a matter of years, Durov transformed from being celebrated as basically Russia's Mark Zuckerberg into becoming an active target of the state. At one point, he literally threw paper airplanes made of cash at his office window just to see how people would react below, completely mocking the pursuit of wealth. But the real turning point? That was when he flat out refused to compromise his users' privacy during political protests, knowing full well it would cost him his multi-million-dollar company. That was his exact defiant response, and he posted it publicly alongside a meme of a dog wearing a hoodie. When the Russian state security apparatus, the FSB, demanded the personal data of teenage Ukrainian protesters using his app, he didn't just quietly refuse in some backroom meeting, he mocked the demand openly for the world to see. Section 3. Building an untouchable app, escaping to build Telegram. Having ultimately lost his first company to state-backed billionaires in a boardroom coup, Durov essentially fled to Buffalo, New York with a handful of his most trusted developers. Their singular goal? To build something that could never be taken away. He didn't just build another messaging app, he engineered a literal digital fortress. From day one, the architecture of Telegram was designed specifically to be highly resistant to global surveillance and completely immune to corporate or hostile state takeovers. He took the hard lessons learned from losing VKontakte and wrote them directly into Telegram's code. Okay, this next fact is absolutely mind-blowing. An application actively used by over 1 billion people across the globe is maintained by a core engineering team of just 40 people. 40! There are no massive corporate campuses, no bloated middle management, just a highly concentrated team of elite programmers. So how on earth do they do it with just 40 people? Well, it comes down to brilliant automation and a heavily decentralized setup. Humans are the biggest attack vectors in any tech company, right? By removing the human element and scattering heavily encrypted server fragments across different global jurisdictions, the platform becomes incredibly lean and highly resilient to any single nation's geopolitical pressure. Section 4. Telegram's unique business model, surviving without selling data. Running a global empire of this scale costs hundreds of millions of dollars. So how does Telegram actually survive without engaging in the whole data exploitation practice we see from other Silicon Valley giants? Telegram completely flips the script on the traditional tech business model. Instead of mining your data for targeted ads, they offer premium features to about 15 million users. They take a tiny 5% commission from developers building mini apps, and they heavily integrate the TON blockchain network. But most importantly, they deliberately refuse to build an addictive, algorithm-driven newsfeed. They keep the interface clean, chronological, and entirely in the user's control. Section 5, Defying Global Governments, the War on Censorship. Naturally, this level of absolute financial and structural independence inevitably put Durov on a collision course with nearly every major superpower on the globe. When you can't be bought and you won't be bullied, governments definitely take notice. We really start to see a distinct pattern emerge over the years here. His flat refusal to provide backdoor encryption keys leads to nationwide bans. In response, Telegram builds digital resistance tools, essentially fighting cyber wars against state censors, which ultimately escalates all the way to his physical detention. To give you an idea of just how wild these digital battles got, 15.8 million. That is the staggering number of IP addresses the Russian government accidentally blocked in 2018. They ended up breaking their own banking, retail, and internet infrastructure, all in a desperate attempt to stop Telegram's automated anti-censorship systems from rotating servers. The crazy part? Telegram kept working. The Russian internet did not. Privacy is not for sale. Even when he was facing the loss of his absolute biggest markets, Durov stated plainly that they would rather shut down operations entirely in a country than betray their core promise to their users. For him, privacy isn't just some feature you toggle off when a government gets angry. It is an absolute, fundamental human right. And that staunch defense brings us right to the neutral facts of his August 2024 arrest. After being detained for 96 hours and released on a €5 million bail, he's currently banned from leaving France while the investigation is ongoing. Now, this highlights a massive, highly unprecedented legal theory being tested by French prosecutors here. They're attempting to hold a tech CEO personally, criminally liable for the illegal actions conducted by some of his platform's users, basically arguing that his strict privacy protocols and lack of aggressive moderation equate to complicity. So why does all of this actually matter to you and me? Well, because whether it's citizens in Russia trying to access outside independent news or people in Iran organizing peaceful protests, Durov views his creation as a completely neutral tool that empowers humanity. If platforms are forced to build backdoors for one government, the argument goes, they are basically open to all of them. As Pavel Durov continues fighting his legal battles, restricted from leaving France, his situation forces all of us to look at our own screens and ask this critical question. In a world of total connectivity and government surveillance, is true freedom still possible? Can you build an untouchable sanctuary for free speech, or will the sheer weight of global state power eventually crush anyone who tries? It's a question that is undoubtedly going to define the future of our digital lives. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope it gave you a completely new perspective on the very real battle for your digital privacy.